Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another CTC software webinar. Today we're going to be talking about new features and enhancements that were recently released with our 25.0 release that came out a couple of weeks ago. So if you weren't aware, you are now. And thank you for joining us. My name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Products Manager here at CTC Software. Today we're going to go over just a few of the things that have been released in the past year and show you some, in particular, one exciting new feature that we've released. So with that, let's get started. Oh, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, thank you for watching, and if you have questions, go ahead and answer them there. If you're watching live and you have questions, please put them into the question panel. We will get to them if we can during the broadcast, but certainly we will save time at the end. And if you don't have access to our YouTube channels, you don't want to miss another one, go to our website to register and sign up for future events. Okay, so we have two suites of tools here. If you're not familiar with CTC software, we have our CIM Project Suite, which is productivity tools intended for the everyday Civil 3D user creating design and production drawings. And we do work back into the last 4 editions of Civil 3D, currently version 2021. So if you're using our tools currently and you upgrade to our version 25.0 and you're working in a legacy project of 2020, you won't be able to access our tools there. So continue to work in the 24.5 version, if that is the case. So I said I was going to briefly go over some of the things that we have done in the last year since 24.0. With that, AutoGrader had some significant work to it, make things easier for our users out there, so we can now create from parcel segments, so we can grade from segments of parcels. We also added a couple of new methods to our software. Different ways of doing things, grade to ends, and I think we added grading to polylines as well. And then we added a last run column so you can kind of keep track of things, and along with that, a highlight and zoom to the families. So if you were ever in a drawing that you came back to or somebody shared with you and you didn't know where those families were, we can now highlight and zoom to those. And then custom feature line naming. So we can now give a name to our feature lines to also help us keep track of them. And then with Corridor Mapper, we reconfigured the UI for that to make it more user-friendly. And Clash Seeker we introduced in this last year as a new tool, and along the line we added pressure pipe networks and a surface selection drop-down to add for clash sets, which makes it a lot easier. We don't need to know the name of the surface. We can just pull the drop-down and select it from there. And with Label Genie, we updated the UI again to make it more in line with the rest of our tools. We added a button to delete previous labels, so you don't have to, it won't overwrite them if you don't want them to, and we can delete certain labels out of there that we don't want when we are doing labels, when we're using the same anchor types and same formatting and things like that. So we also added surface labels in a gridded format, so we can put surface labels basically within a region. So if you have a polyline that's surrounding an area and you want to put just surface labels in those areas, we can now do that. And also with the updated UI, we added that surface selection drop down also. And with Earthwork Processor, we added a raw cut fill column, and we improved stripping volume calculations. And with Sheet Generator, we added some improved XREF functionality. And all of that, by the way, we have done webinars on each of those individually. If you'd like to see more in depth how those things work, again, you can go to our website and our YouTube channel to find those, to see what was done new to those. So what's new for 25.0? We improved how AutoGrader creates parallel feature lines. In the past, they were sometimes a little wonky. They could jump around. Now they will follow the same stationing format of your parent feature lines. I'll show that a little bit here today. And with Data Wizard, we made improvement to the selection dialog window, which really just makes it look like the rest of our tools. I'll pop that open real quick just to show you that. All the rest of the functionality has stayed basically the same. But our biggest addition for 25.0 was that we added additional data selections to avoid. So now instead of just avoiding our PIs, PTs, things along the alignment, we can avoid, for instance, structures, manhole structures, pressure pipe appurtenances, and along with that, other things that might come in handy, blocks, cocoa points, but we will get into that and I'll show you a few of those today. And also we, under requests from several of our users out there, we included basic labeling templates for Label Genie, and they can be found after the install at the C Users Public CTC Software Label Genie folder. Now, you don't have to necessarily remember that, but if you want to jot it down, you can. You can also find that path in our release notes. So it's kind of a jumping off, just a starter point for those. And along with that, we included some basic AutoGrader templates. A lot of people were requesting that we share those with them, and now they are there for you. But as always, if you see anything in any of our webinars that you would like us to share, just contact us here at support and we'll be more than willing to help you out there. So we also have our Manager suite of tools, as I mentioned, for those of you watching who may not be familiar with their tools. And then they're part of the CIM Manager suite of tools, and they're really intended for CAD managers or those supporting a production team. And again, with that, it will work back into the last 4 versions of Civil 3D to version 2021. And again, if you're doing production drawings in a version older than Civil 3D 2021, you might want to hold off on updating just yet. So in the past year, we've made some significant improvements to Template Tracker. We can now find all used styles in the drawings. Before, we weren't able to identify some of the styles that were a little deeper in some of our settings folders. And we can also track individual block components now. So we can see layers in blocks, textiles in blocks. And with that, we can identify what styles are currently set as the default. And if you do have a style out there now that, for whatever reason, had some empty property fields, we will now identify those and let you know where they are. You won't be able to fix those in Template Tracker, but you'll know where to find those and to fix those. And now we can also change text styles in complex line types that have text within them. So if you wanted to change what that looked like, you can do that now right in Template Tracker. You do not need to use our line type manager to do that. And we improved with Layer Boss our exporting and importing of layers. We added layer states. So if you have a particular layer state now that you like to use, we can now do that. So not much has really changed in the Manager Suite, but with Layer Boss, we were finding that some folks out there were getting errors when they would try to import layers, and it wasn't really clear what the error could be or would be. So now we put some better messaging that will appear in the layer box at the bottom of the window to help you track those down and get those resolved so you can import and export your layers more consistently. So let's get in a little live demo here and show you some of the things in particular. I want to show our sheet gen one. That's one of the biggest things. We had many requests for this along the line, and really it's going to save more time in your layout and editing of your sheets. So if you're not familiar with how our sheet generator works, it's up here, and it works from left to right, and this is for linear sheet layouts currently. I will, with that, say we are working on doing a sheet generator for non-linear, so for site-based drawings. But some of the things that we need for this particular sheet generator, we need an alignment, which we have in this one, and then some simple blocks. And if you would like these blocks, we can share them, but all they are is one-to-one blocks that relate to your layout tab right here. So it's your view area right here, and it's for whatever scale drawing you want to do. You would want to make another tab for that. So 20 scale, you'll know your lengths, you'll draw your block as such in here to help lay out your plan view shapes. It works a lot like the native output create view frames, but it's more versatile in that we can quickly, easily change things and then rerun it to get our view shapes and everything set before we actually create layouts. And I'm just going to go over today the layout portion of it, which is what we see right here in this example. So here's what the new UI looks like. It's virtually unchanged from the last one. Like I said, we just added those extra data fields to avoid. So again, if you're not familiar with how SheetGen works, I said you need an alignment, which if it's in the drawing, it will be accessible right here. That's my main alignment right there. You can see we have some offset to the left and the right. And then we have our start station. And you can enter this manually, or we can go and we can pick. And this is part of the really the versatility of the tool. So I can come in here and I can pick anywhere in here. I'll just pick right here at 52 for right now. And then the next thing we need to do is we need our end station. I'm going to let it go to the end, but again, you could pick anywhere in here that you wanted it to be. So I'm just going to pick to show you right there. And again, you can enter any value you want. So your viewport scale, that's the important thing that we want to have to make sure our plan sheets look correct. And it's going to default to whatever your drawing scale is down here. And you can change it here if you want to. If you want to do a 30 and change it here and reopen it, that will auto-populate however you want to do things. So then I mentioned we have to have those print blocks. And that's how we really place everything. So when we have two methods, we can center them within. Our view shapes will be centered within the view block. And by that, I mean they're going to go in the middle of our print area block, or we can give it an offset if you wanted to. You can go from one end or the other. You could do it manually and half it. I'll show you that in a second. So our print area block is right here. So any block that you have in the drawing will be available here. So we want to pick, for this one, we want to pick our plan. That's what we're working on. And then the print area block layer, which you can have created ahead of time. You can go pick one in the drawing, however you want to do it, or we can create one right here on the fly. Let me just click one of these so I can zoom back out so we can see the whole thing. Because what we really want to show today is how the new avoid data works. So I'll hit the next button here. Then we have this is telling us our distance between our match lines. So this is from here. Max is from this edge of this view block to this print area block. And then what it does is it creates your view shapes, which is this cyan line in there. And then our match lines are going to go at what we're calling our drafting guides right here. You do not need to put those in there if you don't want to. All they really do is help for you to make some adjustments on the fly, give you some things to snap to, but it does control where your match lines ultimately will be placed when you create your sheets. So if my max was 509.72, I could tell it to use the max, or I could give it some distance in between. I'm going to leave that at 425, and you can make it whatever you want. Whatever fits on your sheet, however that works for you. For this demonstration, I'm just going to leave it. I got it set at 425 right now, so we'll leave it at that. And then if you wanted to do your max and what your half buffer you would want it, if you wanted, I'm going to back up here for a second. So this offset horizontal, if I wanted it to be centered within there, I would take half of my distance that I wanted. So if I wanted it to be 500, if I want it to be 500, then it would be 4.5 plus change I would put on there to center it. Centering it is probably the most common way to do it because you really would want it in the middle there anyway. And then round station. So what do I want to round it to? The nearest 25 station, the nearest 50 station, whatever we wanted there. So in the old version, we had, all we could avoid was alignment vertices. So that's my PCs, my PTs, anything like that along my alignment. I'm going to leave those unchecked right now just to show because I changed this stationing up here and I'm just going to run this. Oh, I should finish going through this. So the view shapes then, where do we want to clip them at? So that's the cyan line. So we're going to clip them at the match lines which again are these drafting guides here. So it's going to clip it there, it's going to clip it there, and then begin station and end station. If I click these off, in fact, I will, just for this one to show, or at the print block area, which will do the full area. And then our view shape layer, again, what do we want that on? And that's what this controls, this cyan line out here. And our drafting guide layer, I sure don't want it on that. So I have one here for drafting guides, and these might hang in there. So as I do that, and then I click finish, we'll see these pop in there. And oops. So we see how those changed right there. And as I said, the drafting guides are really there to help make adjustments along here. So for instance, this one here, we probably would want that centered a little better. So I can just simply take and move this whole shape to get it better centered along there like that. And that's what we'll see when we do create our layouts, which are not today. It's really just to show you a void and give you a couple of the basics of how SheetGen works. So we can take care of most of our manual editing, but let's get to what we really wanted to see today. And I said I didn't clip it at the match lines on this side. So it's going to find from 52 to whatever 425 is here, and then put the clipping on this end. I'll add it on the next one. But let's go down the line here and see where we might have some interference. So right here, we've got a PC. So we know we don't see anything. Yeah, here's a manhole right here, but let's run it with that PC first. So like I said, we can do this very quickly many times to review what we can do. So let's open it back up. I'm going to leave all this the same. I'm just going to change the next here. First I'm going to add alignment vertices. And these values will hold. So every time you reopen it, if you always say I want to avoid by 10 or 15 or whatever you want to do, these values will hold the next time you run your sheet generator. Same with all the other settings. So this time I'm going to clip at the beginning and the end as well. And then I'm going to hit finish, and we'll see how that takes care of that crossing issue that we had. So now we can come down the line again. We're not avoiding mids, even though I have it labeled there. That's not that big a thing, but along these PCs, we definitely don't, in most cases, want it cut there. And here it clipped. You can see now it's clipped at the end of the station and the beginning of the station. So that all looks pretty good. Really don't need to avoid anything, but if something changed and I needed to come back up here to the beginning. So let's do that real quick. So it only takes a second. In that case, I will do here. I will manually enter that. Again, I could have picked it, and I'm just going to say next and finish, leaving that alignment vertex buffer, and then come and review again. And here we have one of our manholes cut, or pretty close. We probably wouldn't want that, and maybe we don't want to spend the time editing these, or maybe we want a certain distance from all of them, whatever the case might be out there. So we can do this in a couple of ways. We can come and we can pick the ones that are affected, or we can do the entire network. I'm going to focus right here on this one because it is cut. That one's probably pretty close too. We'll give it a buffer for labels to show up and what have you. So again, I can click reopen this up, and then come to next. And so I want to avoid pipe network structures in this case. So we open our common filter, common across all of our tools. You'll see this familiar box, so you'll know your way around. And we can do this two ways. We can come in here and we can select a part that will pick the entire network. So if I pick that, it's the whole network. We see 24 objects it found out there to avoid. I'm going to clear that for now. I'm just going to pick the one right here. I'm going to say OK. Actually, let me do this again so I can zoom out a little bit, so we can see how these view shapes change. So I'll say next, and leaving everything else the same. I'll give it a buffer of, let me give that 10. I'm going to change this one to 15. We can do that right on the fly. And all I have to do is hit finish now. And there, that adjusted there. We got a little further from that PC, which I like. So quickly we can come through here and we can view how that is going to look when we ultimately create our layouts. So to me, that all looks pretty good, but let's see what happens if we apply it to the entire network. You'd probably want to get away with as few sheets as possible, and in this case, that would be ideal to just pick that one that's interfered with. But just to show you how that works, I'm going to first clear this. I'm going to open that dialog box up again. I'm going to click that. We see it's our 24, and I'm going to hit finish again. And it knows all these layers, by the way. You can see, you probably noticed that it's deleting the old stuff and putting the new stuff in there. So now I know that I'm clear of all of my structures. Kind of liked the way that last one looked better, added an extra one. But that's things we can avoid. So let me go to another one, a shorter, to show you. This one doesn't have any pressure pipe networks in there, but we have that functionality as well. So here's another one that I've ran. And we can see right here that for sure we don't want that with these settings. So let's avoid that. And we can also avoid this alignment. If I had this alignment back, let me just drag it and get it in the way. And we'll tell it to avoid that also. So if we had a crossing alignment, if you had another adjacent sheet or street, then we could set that so that it would center the intersection more over top of the sheet. I just have this alignment in here, but we have these two things that we want to show how they avoid them. So let me open it up again. We'll go through the same thing. So in this case, it's set to this crossing alignment. I don't like that. And also, if we wanted to just avoid the alignment, if you had alignments for you can see this hydrant 1 and hydrant 2, or the storm lateral. We could avoid that as an alignment as well when we get to the next page. But we want to run along that alignment, the main alignment. So now I have to set this to match what it was. Looks like it was at 6. And then end station. I'll pick 23 again. So then everything else will remain the same. I'm going to let it center. I'm going to add my appurtenance to this one. And in this case, I'm going to do the whole by 15. Again, I'm going to do the entire pressure pipe network. So you can see right here, it's asking me, instead of pipe network, it knows I'm looking for pressure pipe parts. So I can simply come and find one of those appurtenances, pick this hydrant right here. So it says it found 13 within that network. And we could do multiple networks too if we wanted to. And also we can avoid, I said, these crossing alignments. So let me grab that one. I'm just going to say 5 in this case for that one, just for demonstration purposes. And then I'm going to go grab it manually. So now that should avoid this alignment as well. We'll say okay. So you can see a lot of different things we added here. And even within the XREF, we can get at most of the things. I'm not going to say all of the things, like some of these come in whole. Blocks will be, I think, pieces, but networks will have to be the whole network along with pressure pipe networks. So let me change this layer. And everything else is the same. I'm going to tell it to finish. And there it shifted. So we don't have to go and we don't have to mess with all of these. And likewise, it avoided that one. And that's taking care of that all with pretty much a push of the button. Okay, I see a question here from Chris for a wish list. It'd be nice to snap to alignment vertices if within a buffer too. Sure. I think that's a great idea. I will certainly take that into account, and we can see about adding that as an improvement. Okay, so that's all I had to show you with the updates for SheetGen. I think you can see how that could greatly help to improve the speed and production of creating your layouts. So AutoGrader, the parallel families sometimes did not want to go in the sequential order. For instance, for this around the cul-de-sac, we were finding that sometimes the way these were created or whatever, it would go, for instance, might go to this one, then to this one, then back, and then come around again, which left some editing if that's what you really wanted to do. So what we did is we told it to follow your parent stationing line. So wherever this starts at 1 or you began drawing it, it's going to follow that around. I think in this case it goes this way. So I'll show you, I've got one set up there to run. So if you're familiar with AutoGrader, it's a powerful tool that helps expedite your grading. We can create a whole lot like this, and we do have other videos out there. If you haven't seen them, I encourage you to watch them to see how you can save a lot of time with AutoGrader. So I got this one right here. Some of the requirements, if you haven't seen how AutoGrader works, we need a feature line, and I can hit this zoom right here, and it shows me which one I've got. So this is one of the new things we added. So we know that's the feature line that we have. Then I'm going to do grade existing, which is these lines right here, which I've already selected. So if I, again, oh, whoops, I didn't have that over there, did I? Hang on. So I hit the zoom right here. That highlighted it. Sorry, I had that off screen. I hit the zoom right here, and that's what highlighted that right there. So I know that's my feature line that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to grade existing in this case for those. And if I hit the plus button here, you see it highlights these ones that I've already selected. So I know which ones I've selected for this to go. So some of the things with AutoGrader that we need to do is we need to have, those could be polylines. They don't need to be feature lines. I've run this already, so they are feature lines, but they can be polylines, and we'll turn them into feature lines. So we do need our parent feature line though, which is this cul-de-sac one in the back for this example right here. And then it tells us how many we're going to go. We can do some other things to this too with our settings. That opened off. So if I was going to do grade existing and there were polylines, we have some different ways now of calculating this and our fuzz factor. I don't know why that's set to 1,000, but what that's going to do is it's going to find the distance. If it wasn't snapped, if you didn't snap right to that line, within a half a foot, it will find that and add that. So the distance will be measured along the child in this case. So if it was a half a foot out and you had a distance of, in this case, we have 100 feet, it would be 100.5. Normal to parent, it would be 100. It would make that 100 foot long, just like that, and it would start it right at the parent line. So if you didn't want that, I mean, if you did that on purpose, you had it away from there, 2 feet, 3, whatever you did, it will take care of that. And then we can also set this, if we say normal to parent, we can say to use, if it has an elevation, as these feature lines do, we can use our current feature line elevation at that point, or we can have it grab the parent line elevation. So wherever it finds a connection there on that feature line, that's the elevation it will start at. Or we can tell it to interpolate an elevation. So if it's a little ways away, if it is this half a foot away, it will do the calculation at the grade, the percent for the first point to come up with an elevation for that there. And then if we wanted to edit some of the existing PIs not landing on the family grade breaks, we could do that as well. So some other settings in there, and this formatting here will tell you the layer that they're going to go on and the custom naming format. So if I click this here, I could give it a custom name. In this field right here, I'm going to leave it as it is. And then our defaults come from our main page and our options. So if I do that now and I click on all 3 of these to make parallel lines, like I said, in the past, these might jump around, but now they're going to follow exactly the same stationing. And I'm just going to pull this off screen here a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and hit run, and you'll see that happen. Actually, no, I'm going to save and close, and I'll bring it over here. So it's this one here. I also have it being added to the surface. In this case, I'm going to take that off of there. And we can create the surfaces right on the fly here too. They just go right into your tool space in case you haven't seen the tool. So now if I hit run, now they all go perfectly around there. So less editing time in the end if that's what you want to do. Let me close that. I'll do one more. Actually, I have 2 more set up to go just to show again a different method for this one back here. My panel work, there we go. So I have a different method for these lots back here. I've already created these ahead of time, but the method here was to, I'll show you in a second, was to grade to which ones are they? Not that one. So it's this one here, lot to daylight. Okay. So like I said, I did this to slope to surface. So we didn't care. I just wanted to go a slope of 10% till it found my surface, and I'm using this existing ground surface. So that's why those lines are shorter. But if I wanted a feature line on the back side of those to add to my surface as a break line, I'll click that back one. So let me save and close right there. And then I'm going to pull it off the side. I'm going to hit run, and you're going to see it follow that along there. Just to show you, the only parent line is this one. So I have this feature line here as a parent line, and I'm going to tell it to run. And I also put it on a separate layer back here. So it just said it couldn't find the target for this one. I think I didn't have it set up just right. So, but anyway, it as you can see, it follows it right along there. And in past cases, it might jump around and do something like that. And now it will no longer do that. So let me do this one more up here, along here. And this one has a little different method also for our 40s. And I'm going to just put these two in here so they're grade existing already. It's those feature lines I just showed you. And it will get two lines along where we expect our front house pad and back house pad to be. So I'll save and close, and I'll hit run on that one as well. And there they are. Came around here just the way we want them to, and it doesn't matter what order you pick these in. They will always follow this parent line, which is this one right here. So then one more thing, Data Wizard, just to show you if you're familiar with Data Wizard, it's a tool that we use to help create legends and quantity takeoffs and the like. So with that, it opens up this dialog box right here. We have our options. And all I really wanted to show you is that now when we select our objects, so if I did, let's do feature lines, I do a refresh of what I wanted to include or not include, our filter button now looks like this, like the rest of our tools. So I can come in here and I can exclude things, I can add things, however I want my stuff to look. If I want to weed things, I can do weeding of objects, styles, all within this dialog box right here, which lets us now pick from the drawing. Previously, we needed to know what layer these were on, for instance, and now we can pick in the drawing. So that's all of the new features for 25.0. And again, we have our suite of CTC CIM Tools, the project suite we talked about, and the management suite. It's actually the manager suite. And if you, I wanted to show how you get the update. Let me jump back to my drawing. I forgot about that. So to see what version you're on, this comes up too. To see what version that we're on, let me open AutoGrader just to show that and how to get at it. If you don't know what version you're on, it's right here. You open up your About, and we see the version right here, and we can click this button right here, which will take us to our website. And if you have permissions to download it, you can right there. But if it's not 25.0 and you want it to be 25.0, you can contact your administrator. So, okay, we have our 2 suites there, and if you don't have it and you would like to get it, you contact your local reseller. If they do not offer it, you can contact us here at ctcsoftware.com. And as always, if you have any ideas or need any help at all, please contact us here at support. Our tools are built for you, the user, and we take all requests, such as the one we got today, in mind and try to make the tools work better for you. So with that, thank you for joining us today and taking your time out of your day. I will see you at the next webinar. Thank you.